In today's economy, every ad dollar counts. That's why performance marketers are turning to Rocked Ads to reach high intent customers in the transaction moment when they're completing a purchase online. Powered by AI and first party data, Rocked Ads connects your brand with over 400 million global shoppers, and you only pay when customers engage. Learn more at rocked.com/adage. That's ROKT.com/adage.
Hi, I'm Adrienne Pasquarelli, Special Projects Editor and Senior Reporter at Ad Age, and welcome to another edition of the Marketer's Brief Podcast, our weekly discussion about marketing news and trends that have the industry buzzing. Many brands have realized that younger consumers are obsessed with the past by tapping into nostalgia for new ad campaigns. Yet Instacart takes it a step further with its new Summer Like It's 1999 campaign, which also offers 90s-era prices in a nod to inflation and the current economic climate. Today, we'll be talking with Laura Jones, Chief Marketing Officer of Instacart. She'll discuss the new campaign, Instacart's recent Super Bowl spot, and what else is on deck for the grocery delivery brand this year. Now here's my conversation with Laura. Hi Laura, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So Instacart has been very busy this year, and I know we have a lot to talk about, but let's start with talking about the company's recent marketing campaign, Summer Like It's 1999. You guys are also offering lower prices as part of that marketing push. Can you talk a bit about the campaign and how it came about?
Yeah, we were really excited this year to put out a breakthrough summer campaign. It's a time when routines are changing for families, and we wanted to make sure we stayed top of mind. So we were thinking about what did we think would be relevant this summer. And, certainly in culture, there's been a lot of 90s nostalgia from the fashion to the music. And we hit on this insight that there's also a little bit of economic nostalgia for the 90s. It just felt like everything was easier and simpler and cheaper back then. And so we had this idea of Summer Like It's 1999 with prices from 1999. And we actually went and looked at the Consumer Price Index and calculated what the difference was between today's prices and the prices in 1999, which is 47.2%. So we said that actually feels like a pretty meaningful discount. And we worked with a number of our brand partners to fund discounts on some of our favorite nostalgic 90s snacks so that consumers could buy those at almost half off. And we paired that with a 360 campaign that you'll see running across linear TV, social, and really all the channels, audio as well. And that really tries to tap into that 90s nostalgia, everything from burning your mouth on a bagel bite to, the proper way to stab a Capri Sun, to stacking Lunchables, to some of the fashion nods like the baby tees and the chokers and the super soaker fight. So just we had a ton of fun with it. It really, as 90s kids ourselves, we went all in. And one last fun fact about the campaign is we partnered with Third Eye Blind for the music because we were like, obviously that is the soundtrack to a 90s summer. And they were so excited about the campaign and have actually helped us spread the news through their socials as well. So it felt like one that just resonated deeply with our target audience. Again, was just a blast to make.
Yeah, that song really captures late 90s for a lot of people, I'm sure, in addition to just us. Now, it's interesting about the lower prices because there has been so much talk about consumer behavior now, in addition to the inflation, since 1999. But as the economy is uncertain and tariffs changing pricing, people trading down to lower cost brands. What is Instacart seeing in terms of kind of that shopper behavior, and how does this campaign kind of tap into that? What reaction are you hearing about that part of it?
Groceries, as you know, are a non-negotiable. People need to put food on the table every week, every day, and typically shop on kind of a weekly or multi-time a week basis. So we are seeing our consumers continuing to shop. I think certainly discounts are especially appreciated in this moment because, to your point, there is a lot of uncertainty. And so what we're really looking to do is to partner with the brands that are on our platform and help them figure out ways to continue to engage customers, continue to get them to try new products, right? Innovation isn't stopping, and really making sure that consumers can still access those foods that they love and get them at the best possible price. So we've done a lot of work over the summer, both in this campaign and across the platform, to figure out different ways to lower prices for customers, everything from the 1999 discounts to other stock up and save offers that we have, to in some cases even highlighting some of our retailers that feature same as in-store pricing. So we're really excited to make sure that customers know that there are really great deals to be had on Instacart.
And it's funny that the campaign is all about 1999 when Instacart wasn't even founded until more than a decade later, right?
Yes, yes, it is kind of funny. You can still get those bagel bites that you had in the 90s, but now they come directly to your house without you having to leave.
Who could have foreseen that? And I know that campaign was developed in-house, but you had a Super Bowl spot, and we'll definitely talk about the Super Bowl in a bit. But on that Super Bowl spot earlier this year, you worked with an external agency. How do you determine when to use outside partners for which campaigns?
Such a great question. We have had, I would say, a journey when it comes to thinking about how do we produce creative. And I think what we've learned along the way is that it's really important for us to know our own voice, and we want to produce the majority of our work in-house because it forces us to have a sharp perspective on what the Instacart brand means, what it sounds like, what it looks like. And it forces us to have that discipline of both creating that consistency and also evolving it, right? Like if you look at the way we're shooting this year, it's slightly different from the way we used to shoot. Our current style is really focused on some of the techniques that you might have seen in kind of indie films, right? And it really tries to have a bit more of an authentic kind of real vibe than some of our really candy colored shoots in the past. But every once in a while, there's an opportunity, a problem, a brief that comes in that feels like it would benefit from outside perspective or outside expertise, whether that's just a bigger idea than what we're able to come up with, or something that challenges us to work in a different way, or just a skill set that we don't have in-house. And that's where we really look to external partners. We don't have any AORs as a matter of principle because our business is so fluid that we really do want to make sure that we can always find the best partner for whatever that challenge is. But we had an incredible partnership with Chiat for Super Bowl. They pitched us, and their idea was so amazing. It was actually not the exact idea you saw. It was the seed of that idea, but we could see right in that pitch that there was a really genius concept in there. And it was something that we couldn't have accessed on our own because we tend to tell more slice of life stories. And we wanted this to be larger than life. And they delivered that in spades.
Yeah, that was your first time in the big game. How did the experience meet with your expectations? What kind of feedback did you see?
It exceeded our expectations on really every front. I think first of all, I'll talk about maybe a little bit of the challenge and then a little bit of the payoff. So, I think one thing I didn't expect was just the anxiety that came with making such a large financial commitment and putting ourselves out on such a huge stage and frankly such a competitive stage. Every advertiser brings their A game. And it was scary to have bought that media and then realize you're on kind of a ticking time clock to come up with an idea that can hold your own amongst advertising greats. So that was definitely a little bit more stress inducing than I had imagined. But we got through it. We really banded together as a team, both internally with Chiat, and forced through several kind of moments when we were worried the whole thing would fall apart. But we powered on, we got it done, and then the results were better than we could have imagined. We ranked highest among new advertisers on Ad Meter. We saw incredible business results, just a few snapshots. For example, after the ad aired, we saw a 72% increase in new user traffic. Our orders the week of the Super Bowl rose 14% year over year. We saw overall site visits go up by 20% on game day. And actually, when we step back and look at kind of our entire campaign, and calculated the ROAS, which I think we might be the only advertiser to ever look at the ROAS of the Super Bowl. It actually held par with kind of our average evergreen performance ROAS. So it was that effective that it didn't just deliver on those upper funnel metrics and those leading indicators. It also delivered on actual transaction volume, which was really incredible.
So, any plans for the Super Bowl next year?
We can't disclose what we're thinking about next year, but again, I will say that, this year when we look back, our goals for the Super Bowl were to improve brand metrics, to improve growth metrics, and to drive revenue. And we did all three. And I think what it really taught us is that these mass reach moments, be it Olympics, which we did the summer prior, Super Bowl, and just other high reach events, especially in the sports category, do really, really well for our business. So one thing we did following the Super Bowl is we made an investment to be the first ever presenting sponsor of the NHL playoffs for Canada. And so that was a really big deal for us to make a kind of bigger ongoing commitment there to sponsor those playoffs. But that was, again, incredibly effective and really is helping us to drive our business in Canada. So I think you can view it as a commitment to continuing to find incredibly effective high reach media placements.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the Olympics after the Super Bowl kind of came on the heels of that investment the year prior. Why are these big sports marketing tentpole type events part of the strategy? And why do you think they're resonating with shoppers and really giving you that brand lift?
I think they're resonating because there's so few concurrent viewership opportunities anymore. I mean, if sticking with the theme of the 90s, if you think back to the 90s and the way we all watched TV, we would, watch Friends on Thursday night or whatever night it was. And there was just a lot of concurrent viewing across different programming types. And today, really one of the few areas where you do get that concurrent viewership and group viewership is sports. And when you think about our customer base, families with kids, Gen Z, sports are really the time when they are gathering around the television and also, more engaged, right? Watching in a more active, leaned in way. And so what we love about these placements is that number one, they reach people in those moments that are really positive, fun moments. And in some cases, like the Super Bowl, there's actual interest in the ads, which is, pretty rare in this industry versus if you think about it in a more streaming environment. Obviously, many of the platforms have options to skip. And in reality, customers are really just mostly interested in the content in those environments. Not to say you can't grab their attention with a great ad, but it's certainly a lot harder than in a scenario like the Super Bowl or even the Olympics when people kind of expect there to be really great ads and are more open to watching them.
Let's take a quick break for this message from our sponsor.
In today's economy, every ad dollar counts. That's why performance marketers are turning to Rocked Ads to reach high intent customers in the transaction moment when they're completing a purchase online. Powered by AI and first party data, Rocked Ads connects your brand with over 400 million global shoppers, and you only pay when customers engage. Learn more at rocked.com/adage. That's ROKT.com/adage.
Welcome back. So circling back to something you spoke about earlier regarding your in-house agency, I mean, we've been talking to some brands that have recently downsized their internal agencies and moved work to some more external partners. Some of these are brand specific, but a lot of it has to do with the economy and really how larger agencies have implemented tech and AI investments. How do you think in-house agencies can handle some of these external pressures on them and in order to stay sustainable and really prove their worth to a brand?
For us, we are really committed to the in-house agency model. We feel like it has enabled us to get incredible talent and to grow that talent within and really shape the voice that we get to put out into the world. So I think my perspective here is that it starts with having the right talent and folks that not only can deliver for your brand today, but also have that growth mindset and can evolve as the technology landscape changes. We have been AI maximalists from the beginning, and to be honest, like there's been some hits and some misses. We famously kind of got called out a few years ago by Business Insider when we were using some of the early image gen tools for our recipes and ended up with like a three-legged turkey, which was not very appetizing, and some other imagery that just really was not working. And so we've had that learning journey, but as a result, the people both in the creative studio in-house, as well as all of us in the marketing strategy side of the house and in the performance marketing side of the house, we have been playing with these tools for years. And what I always talk to the team about is let these tools be your superpower. These tools are the future. They are coming, and running away from them or pretending they don't exist is not a path to success. Here, we all have to embrace them. We have to figure out how to use them, and it might change what you do. You might go from being someone who writes a lot of copy to someone who edits a lot of copy, or you might go from someone who is shooting a ton of photography to someone who is shooting some photography and writing a lot of prompts. But it's so much better to be on the front foot for that. And so we've really invested in training the team and also just kind of working through some of the anxiety that comes with these technological shifts. And so we're really excited to continue embracing these in-house and really retaining that control where we can decide, okay, is this a placement where we can use, an image gen tool that's been trained off our proprietary brand photography? Or is this a place where we really do want to shoot because we want the highest quality image? We want something that's distinctive. We don't want reversion to the mean. And so for us, I don't see ever having a kind of a full scale shift to just AI driven creative. I view our future as hybrid, where we invest in human craft where it is needed and where that will differentiate us. And we use tools where that will make us more efficient.
Instacart has also been innovating with ways to connect with younger shoppers. I think we just wrote about Fizz, a Gen Z focused party delivery app, which seems like a lot of fun. What does Fizz do and what are you seeing there?
You can think of Fizz as kind of the delivery service for the group chat. And so the big insight with Fizz is that Gen Z is gathering and celebrating and partying differently than perhaps myself as an elder millennial might have done. There's a lot of focus on house parties. There's a focus on BYOB to the point of the kind of uncertain economic times, some price sensitivity, but still a really strong desire to get together. And so we built Fizz to really serve the use case of that kind of house party where the host wants to make sure that everyone has what they like, whether that's in the traditional alcohol categories or the growing NA category. I think there's more options now than ever before. And so really empowering each guest to select exactly what they want from a drinks and snacks standpoint. And then also letting each guest pay for whatever it is that they order and still having it batched in one delivery to a single location. So it's a really new model. We're the only ones out there really doing this exact kind of model. And we're excited to have it out there to learn from our early customers and figure out how we want to keep evolving this so that we can best serve those kind of social use cases for that younger audience.
And how are you promoting it, letting people know it's around?
Right now, we are in, I'd say, kind of the early phase of marketing it, really focusing on social, focusing on cross-sell to existing users and partnerships. We have a great partnership with Partiful, which is hugely popular among that Gen Z audience. So working with them and other partners like Klarna to make sure that we're using the reach of apps and services that are really popular with that audience to reach those users. I think once we see increased traction among that cohort, we are excited to look at, does it make sense to start to invest even more in marketing? But I think right now it's really about letting the early adopters adopt, being kind of in that phase where we've got some buzz, we've got some great pipelines of new users. So letting those do the hard work for the time being.
And we're almost out of time, but I wanted to ask you a little bit about Instacart's co-marketing work. I know you recently did campaigns with Coors Light and Earthbound Farms, for example, and of course the Super Bowl spot is another example of that. Why is co-marketing an area of investment for the brand?
Co-marketing is so important to us because our platform exists at the intersection of kind of the retailer environment and the CPG environment. We wouldn't exist without the retailers that partner with us and the CPGs that have their products in our app and advertise those products to our users. And so we take that incredibly to heart that we exist as a part of an ecosystem, and we really have to continue to always strengthen those relationships. And so we do both retailer co-marketing and CPG co-marketing, as you're referencing. And I think in the past year, we've really expanded our CPG co-marketing capabilities. Both, of course, we have our kind of ads products in the app. So there's sponsored product, there's sponsored video, there's a ton of standardized plug and play ad products that can be used by those advertisers that are incredibly effective, especially at reaching new customers. But for brands that want to go above and beyond and drive additional awareness and reach within our user group and frankly, even with the larger public, we love to go to market together in big and creative ways. I think Creative is so much at the heart of what differentiates our brand. And so when like-minded brands come in and want to partner, we absolutely love jumping on that. Super Bowl is a great example where obviously our campaign featured so many of the mascots. And what we found is as soon as we started picking up the phone and asking the other CMOs, hey, do you want to be a part of this? Not only did they say yes, they said yes, and they had bigger ideas. Todd from Kraft Heinz had so many amazing builds, brought us the Wienermobiles in as part of the campaign, helped us go even bigger with Jimmy Kimmel Live and other campaign extensions. And so we just love when 1+1 = 3, and we're able to take two brands that want to do something kind of out of the box and make it even bigger. So we're super excited. We actually also won a Clio for some of our work with Todd on Sing to Pay for Bologna, celebrating the Oscar Mayer Bologna anniversary. So there's really no limit to what we will do in terms of going big on wild ideas with partners.
What else can we expect to see later this summer from Instacart?
So the summer campaign is in full swing. We've got a lot more to come on that front. Multiple spots within the campaign. We have a Love Island USA integration, which if you haven't seen, I highly recommend. It is, I don't think there's been a single person who's watched it and hasn't laughed out loud. We've created a new character on the island named Carl, and Carl is very lovable. So hopefully people will really enjoy getting to know Carl. And then, heading into kind of back to school, and then all of a sudden it's the holidays. And so, for us, we kind of follow that traditional retail calendar cadence, but we're always challenging ourselves to reimagine it and do it in very unexpected ways, as you saw with summer. So plenty more to come, and hopefully we'll keep people smiling and laughing throughout.
Well, thank you so much for the chat, Laura. This was really fun.
Super fun. Thank you so much.
That was Laura Jones, Chief Marketing Officer of Instacart, and I'm Adrienne Pasquarelli, Special Projects Editor and Senior Reporter at Ad Age. I'd like to thank our producer, Lauren Ciardio, and invite you to subscribe to the Marketer's Brief podcast on your favorite player. We promise to keep it brief or at least short enough for your morning coffee. Thanks for tuning in.
Marketer's Brief listeners get $40 off an adage.com subscription. Sharpen your marketing edge and visit adage.com/brief for your discount.